with all due respect, it's just a British way of saying, I think you're an idiot. That's all. So, and it takes you time to figure that out. British wit and sarcasm is not for everybody's palate. Yeah, that is a real challenge because, as you know, the BLAB exam is rolled out by the General Medical Council. So about 30,000 people take the exam every year, but there are only 10,000 jobs here right now, as a ceiling limit. But the reality is they come here taking massive loans from home, fighting with their families, saying, don't worry, I'll make it here.
Hi everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Maverick Met podcast. Today with us, I have no other person than Dr. Tanvir Alam. How are you today, Dr. Alam?
Thank you very much, Hannah. I'm doing really well. And thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast today. It's an honor to be here today.
The pleasure is all ours. So what I do usually is that I do not tell my guests so I don't have the usual intro about this person does this or does that. So in a sweet 1 minute, tell me, who are you?
So I'm an immigrant to the UK. I come from a town called Udupi in South India. It's famous for vegetarian cuisine and part of a famous South Indian temple tour. So if you're ever in South India, do look up my hometown. That's my pitch for tourism for South India. I came here for foreign qualifications in 2005. I'm a former orthopedic surgeon. I worked in secondary care before I saw the light and came into primary care in 2008. I've been a full-fledged GP since 2012, so it's 13 years now and counting. I live in Norwich, but I'm based in Clacton. I'm also the Deputy Medical Director for my Integrated Care Board and a training program director for advancing equity differential attainment for Norfolk and Waveney, and chair of the East of England division of PAPIO and fellow of the Society of Leadership Fellows at Windsor Castle, among other voluntary roles as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. So that is a lot of qualification. You've got your hands in many pots. So we're going to start on picking right from childhood. Tell us, did you always want to be a doctor?
Yes, because I was good in science and science came to me naturally. So we had a couple of toppers in the class. They were always number one, number two in the batch, but they could never beat me in science. That was something which came to me naturally. I didn't have to put a lot of effort into it. And slowly that became an interest in biology. And so the journey began. When I was a kid, there used to be a couple of shows on TV, and this may sound cheesy. There was a show called Saint Elsewhere. It was a very gritty show about doctors in this hospital in America. It launched the career of the legendary Denzel Washington and Mark Harmon. And I used to watch this show as a small boy, and I used to picture myself, I can do this. And lo and behold, the dream came true for the child. There was another show called Doogie Howser MD, which is about a 14-year-old prodigy who actually gets into medical school very early. So I used to watch these shows as a kid, and I used to actually gel with the material, and I used to understand it, and I was very fascinated as to how I can get there myself.
I mean, talking about this as a parent, it just makes me think that we should be really cautious about the material that we expose our children to, because this is you picking up a whole career just by watching 2 sets of movies or
Yeah.
series on TV. Interesting. So how was your journey through medical school? Was it an easy ride? Was it difficult? How was it?
Getting into medicine is challenging as always, and I grew up in the Middle East, so we didn't have any universities, so I had to go back to India. And fortunately for me, one of the top universities in India is the Manipal Academy of Higher Education. It has students from 38 countries, and that's just 5 miles from my hometown. So that was a big bonus for me, and I managed to get in there. The education was excellent, it was top notch training. We had some brilliant professors and excellent clinical material. But medicine, as you know, is a lifestyle. So you always have long hours, and you have professors who are always keep you on your toes. That is the way medicine is taught in other parts of the world. So that journey was tough, and I did struggle in my final year, especially with the clinical part of medicine. But I managed to cross the finishing line. So a big relief when I finally qualified, and I kind of let my hair down in my internship year because that was the only chance we had to really relax. But yeah, but medicine is what it is. It is a lifestyle, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. And Tanvir, saying that you grew up in the Middle East and you went to a very multicultural university, would you say that that is what has shaped your rich cultural capital?
Absolutely, because we had people, from so many different countries. We had a lot of students from America, so we were exposed to their culture. and we had a whole group from Malaysia. They had a special attachment with this university. So their government students would come here along with their private students as well. So a rich melting pot of different cultures, including myself. I was a bit of a local scholar as well as a non-resident Indian, because I had my hand in both pies. So that was a very interesting dynamic. But we had a great time. We had a great time with all these different people in the mix.
So, at what point did you decide that I'm going to relocate to the UK and why?
So I did my master's in orthopedics from Chennai. That's another town in South India. And after that,
Mhm.
my late father asked me to come back to the Middle East. He said, I've got some opportunities lined up for you here. We'll be able to get you into the system. Unfortunately, when I arrived in the Middle East, the said people who had promised him that I would get a good entry kind of abandoned him. It was a bit massive, it was a massive disappointment for him. So I got into a GP in orthopedics placement, which I didn't want. I wanted cutting exposure because I obviously trained as a surgeon. I did my master's in orthopedics. So while I was going through that 6 month process, I took the PLAB exam on a whim because previously I had given the USMLE and my parents weren't very keen on me going to the States. So I thought this is the last roll of the dice. Let me see what happens. And with minimal preparation, I passed the PLAB exam, the part one. So I realized there was something in that journey for me. And then I negotiated with my father at the time. I said, I've passed the PLAB one. This means you have to give me a chance. You have to allow me to take the PLAB two. And he said, okay. And that's how I came here. It wasn't, I didn't have a massive plan in place. I thought I'll come here, get my membership exams, and, get some qualification and then go back, because these British qualifications have a lot of value and respect in other parts of the world. So that was the ambition.
And which year was this?
This was in 2005. 2005 is when I made the transition to come here, and the first place I ended up was in East Ham, in London, which is a total, what you call disappointment when you first come to UK. You're like, this can't be UK. And I was on 212 Kempton Road in sharing accommodation with 12 doctors and no job for 9 months. So we passed the lab exam and we were hunting for clinical attachments, and people were calling us for interviews and humiliating us, literally saying, we have thousands of application for this clinical attachment, which wasn't even paid. You weren't getting paid for it, but you needed that to be able to convince the consultants that you can get a job. So long wait, and then I managed to get a clinical attachment in orthopedics at Southend Hospital, courtesy of my father-in-law, who actually had some connections with the consultants there. And after a 4 month stint in doing a clinical attachment, I then got my first job as a locum clinical fellow in orthopedics. And that's how the journey began at Southend Hospital.
Well, your long wait in securing a job, which was actually even not even a proper job. It seems like that is the situation that many people find themselves in now. Do you want to talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, that is a real challenge because, as you know, the PLAB exam is rolled out by the General Medical Council. So about 30,000 people take the exam every year, but there are only 10,000 jobs here right now, as a ceiling limit. But no one can stop them from taking the exam. But the reality is they come here taking massive loans from home, fighting with their families, saying, don't worry, I'll make it here. And then they come here and they find themselves in a situation where they are not employable. So this continues to be a major challenge. And people only leave the country of their origin or their home because they have lack of opportunities, or because they have been suppressed there, or they face some injustice. So there are definitive reasons as to why one would leave their home country to come here. That continues to be a major challenge. And now, with the government move to formalize the training posts for local medical graduates as a priority over international medical graduates, this situation and this bottleneck is going to become more acute, unfortunately.
It's totally disheartening, and it's almost like a wedge is being put in between. There's going to be this divide about between international medical graduates and homeschooled medical students or medical doctors, which shouldn't be so.
Indeed, that is the narrative now. And through BAPIO has already sent a letter out, which is the British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. They have been champions for international medical graduates for the last nearly 30 years. So, yeah, we have sent out letters, to Department of Health and Social Care, but their reply was along those lines. We will prioritize, these graduates because uh, the British Medical Association, the resident doctors unit, have taken this stance, and they have lobbied for
Agree.
it very successfully. So once that happens, it becomes difficult to change the narrative. But I'm fairly certain there will be a brain drain at some point, and again the IMGs will again be popular because there are always places where people don't want to go. The small district general hospitals where nobody wants to work or get employed, there is still a place for them. There will always be a place for locally employed doctors. There will always be a place for staff grade doctors. And because those people bring skills and they're willing to work long hours in inhospitable locations and face discrimination, harassment with a smile on their face. So those people will always be required by the system. I don't think you can ever eliminate them from the system.
It's a shame that at the end of the day, it's almost always like it's the international medical graduates who have to be the canon bearers. I mean, canon forwarders. They always have to be at the bottom of the barrel. We just hope that one day things will
Indeed,
change.
yeah, I mean, even if you look at the staff satisfaction surveys for the last 20 years and the ones that have been properly populated over the last 5 years, more than 75% of IMG staff have reported discrimination, harassment, or bullying in the workplace, and
Mhm.
97% have expressed dissatisfaction at some level. But they continue to work, they continue to turn up. They are the backbone of the NHS, and the NHS actually owes them a lot. They should be grateful to them for their efforts in holding up the NHS for all these years.
I couldn't agree with you more. Right, Amber. So I know you have a really interesting story when it comes to your specialty training as a GP. Tell us about it.
So yeah, so actually after doing my time in orthopedics, I was subjected to some discrimination. I was told to go back on the boat on which I came by a consultant while doing a revision THR. And I remember everybody in the OT was laughing, and I was like, "There's nothing funny about this." I told the consultant I came by flight, and promptly that was the end of that surgical experience. That consultant was actually incompetent and had to call another consultant from another hospital to actually come and to finish the surgery. So you can imagine that is taking out your frustration on somebody who could actually assist you, in the job. But that taught me a very valuable lesson. And I saw other staff grades who were close to retirement who were being harassed on a daily basis. And they were just waiting for their retirement paycheck. And they were being asked to read x-rays in the morning and humiliated in the morning coffee session, where all the x-rays are discussed in the trauma meeting. And it was so unfortunate because some of them had trained these consultants before. And I pictured myself in that position. I thought, I can't live like this. I need to do something else. So I took a leap of faith. I did neurosurgery and A&E from the frying pan into the fire at Stoke-on-Trent. It was a job that nobody wanted. During that time, both those specialties asked me to join them. I said, no, thank you. At that point, a couple of my junior colleagues, where I was doing my post graduation in India, I found them to have joined GP training, and they in fact had qualified as GPs, and they were doing very well. They had special interest in a couple of specialties, and they showed me a picture of their car and their homes, and I was like, wow, this would be a good security for my family. By that time I had two children, so priorities changed. I no longer was willing to pursue that Caesar route to becoming a consultant. I thought I need to do something for my family. So I took the GP specialty entrance exam and I cleared. And I came to Great Yarmouth, which is in Norfolk and Waveney. Never heard of this place. First time. And first day in general practice, my trainer, Paul Noakes, asked me, what's your background? So I said, I'm a former staff grade orthopedic surgeon. So he said, so you're a failed surgeon. So I realized it's going to be an uphill struggle from day one. Towards the end of training, we were, the few initial guinea pigs for the clinical skills assessment exam, which was rolled out in 2010. And the second year is when I gave that exam. Very high rate of differential attainment at the time, which is the gap between local and international doctors. And I suffered because of that. I never suffered in any other professional exam, but I had two extensions of training and I passed on my fourth and last attempt, having prepared myself for a career of going back into accident and emergency. I still remember the day, March 21st, 2012, when the result was announced on the e-portfolio. And it was a very long drive from the surgery back to come and open the e-portfolio and to see the green tick boxes on all the metrics that you needed. And it was almost unreal. I couldn't believe I had passed. But that set things in motion. I realized there was a massive gap. And people like me who spent £15,000 in the last year of their training went from pillar to post asking people for help and support. I was supported by my senior, Dr. Saeed Chowdhury, who was excellent, who invited me to his house and dissected my consultation skills, and Dr. Nigel Guillaume of GP Mentor courses. Without these two individuals, I would not have passed. So I owe my career to them. I want to acknowledge them here today. And then I decided to, from the very next day, to sit with the doctors who are giving the exams so that they don't have to go through this trauma which I have gone through. And I did that pro bono for about 10 years in my own free time on weekends. And all my registrars passed who came to me. They used to come to me in out of hours. So please help us. We have nobody to train us. People have washed their hands off us. Our trainers have told us we are finished. Our TPDs have told us we have exam phobia. And we have such huge commitments. We have got families back in Nigeria, India who are depending on us. There's so much pressure on us to succeed. Yet, we can't cross the finishing line. All of those people are immensely successful now. So I'm very pleased to have played a small part in their journey. Then one day I was invited by Health Education England to do that in an official capacity as training program director for advancing equity and differential attainment. It was a new role created in 2021 because people finally acknowledged that differential attainment exists and it was no longer a mystery or a myth. And once people acknowledged that, then support structures became more obvious. We have now the support on exams program, and I do individual one-to-one sessions for registrars who are on third, fourth, and fifth attempt at exams, who have literally anywhere between a 6 to 12% chance of passing the exams because your success rate drops with each attempt. So these are the most vulnerable people in the system. And I'm very blessed. I have a 100% pass rate for all of these vulnerable doctors. So I have become an unwitting champion for the underdog because I have been an underdog in the system since I came here. So I guess that just comes naturally to me. And I don't wish to leave anyone behind. I want to take people along with me and to give them that opportunity which I have of being a GP and enjoying that career. Why should somebody be denied that because of an examination?
Dr. Alam, a little bird told me that you have successfully helped around 250 GPs now to pass their exams. Am I right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That
it's a colossal figure. I never thought an average of 20 doctors a year. This is the 14th year running now, and it's continuing. I have now presently a cohort of doctors who are on the third and fourth attempt for the SCA and the AKT. So I do group sessions for them. I do individual sessions for them. I do my best. I bring humor into the conversation. I make it light because everybody's already stressed and has been disappointed. And my go-to mantra is you need to listen to Eye of the Tiger by Survivor from Rocky 3 because if you are prepared to unleash the underdog in you, then you can come to this place. You don't need to read anything when you come to my session. You just need to listen to Eye of the Tiger three times before you
pledge.
come. So that's the
On
homework
a
for my
more
registrars.
serious on a more serious note, what are some of the underlying factors why we tend to have so much differential attainment?
See, the research for this was done by the legendary Catherine Wolfe of UCL, and
Mm.
this was done back in 2016. So there are sort of it's multifactorial. So one is there is a bias against the country of origin of your medical education. So people think that because you have trained in India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, that the quality of your undergraduate medical education is inferior. One. Secondly, there is no integration into the British system. I'll give you an example of this. When your supervisor tells you I strongly urge you to do this, or I suggest you do this. That's a British way of saying you need to get on with it. It takes a long time for people to understand that. So there are instances of doctors sitting in wards in the hospital waiting for instructions because that's how they are trained in their home countries. They are told what to do because that's how the professor is and the head of the team is in those countries. It's very authoritarian. Here you are asked to get on with it and then report to somebody when necessary. That is how it is here. But going from that that sort of authoritarian kind of conversation to a heuristic and an egalitarian method of conversation takes time. But you don't have an induction program. Nobody teaches you that. There are doctors who haven't opened a bank account, so they can't receive their paycheck when they're in the hospital, and they are stressed about it because they haven't managed to open a bank account. They don't know where the local shops are. They don't know where they can get their shopping. When I came to Yarmouth, I had to travel to London just to get halal meat. That was a 3-hour trek just to go and shop for food.
Assuming you
So
drive, because oftentimes you don't even drive, you don't have a
yeah,
driver's license.
absolutely. So there are cultural challenges. There's lack of an induction program, and then people try to bring the linguistic barrier inside. You have to learn how to understand British expressions. When I was failing my exam, we were asked to go to a remedial course run by the deanery, the East of England deanery at the time. And they said you need to watch EastEnders and join a book club. I have no idea what EastEnders is even till today, and I have read enough books, and I can assure you that no amount of reading any books or fiction are going to help you pass a CSC exam.
I
So the
completely
whole message and the rhetoric was wrong, and there was never an acknowledgement that people have a very direct form of communication. Here, you have to learn how to say, how to ask, what are your thoughts about what could be going on? How may I help you today? Was there something more I could do for you today? What were
Mhm,
you hoping you would get out of this consultation? How do you
mhm,
learn how to do that? Somebody should teach you. Whereas local graduates are trained in that consultation method during medical school. So for them, the consultation structure is a walk in the park. But whereas for an IMG, they have to learn that because they come from a place where you have a 2-minute consultation and outpatient, you have 200 patients waiting in a busy clinic. You don't have time to ask people's ideas, concerns, and expectations in Nigeria or India. If you ask that, the patient will say, this is a very poor doctor. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's asking me what he should do. Whereas here, the whole consultation technique is spun around. It has to be a patient-centered consultation. There has to be a shared management plan. Somebody should teach you that. And it has taken a long time for people to understand that that has to be taught. It can't just be absorbed along the way.
absolutely.
UK is a difficult place to get integrated into. There's social isolation here. So brown doctors stick with brown doctors, black doctors stick with black doctors because the only conversation in workplace is about the weather and Love Island. So there isn't much to talk about. And if you are inviting, yes, people are happy to come to your place, but you never get the reverse invite. Nobody calls you for a barbecue or nobody invites you for a social outing. Plus, you are uncomfortable if you are religious minded. You can't go to a pub because you don't drink. You're uncomfortable there. You can't eat the barbecue because the meat isn't halal. So you are stuck with the vegetarian and fish option for life, quite literally. So you are excluded from many things. So social integration and British values are two different things altogether, but they are often compounded into one conversation, and much to the detriment of international medical graduates.
One of my guests who came on the podcast earlier, he said when he first moved into this country, he didn't know that if someone said, "Hey, you're right," it didn't actually mean tell me all your problems. It was just a way of saying hello.
With all due respect, it's just a British way of saying I think you're an idiot. That's all. So, and it takes you time to figure that out. British wit and sarcasm is not for everybody's palate. It takes time to understand that I strongly urge you to do this. I suggest you do this. It's just a British way of saying get on and do it. And so many international medical graduates have fallen foul of that because they're like, oh, it's suggestion. Yeah, perhaps I don't have to do it. You know, because a suggestion is a suggestion in Nigeria or India. Here, a
You can
suggestion
choose
can be,
to
yeah, here a suggestion is a direction for you to do something. So
hear
the
a bit.
lack of cultural safety in the workplace is one of
Mhm.
the key drivers, and poor integration into the system, and not actually teaching the doctors how to function in the British system. Only now we have these various induction programs and the targeted intervention schemes and so many other initiatives by so many different bodies and Health Education England, which have now come into vogue in the last 5 years. But if you think about it, this saga has been going on for decades. Yeah.
Dr. Alam, are you in any way involved in any of the colleges?
So I'm a fellow of the Royal College of General
Mhm.
Practitioners. So you can see my badge of honor there. Life has come full circle for me from almost not being a member to a fellow. I'm now standing for the RCGP National College, National Council.
Mhm.
The elections, the balloting is going on right now and finishes on the 8th of September. So I hope to become a member of the council. I am also actively involved in the differential attainment conversation through BAPIO with the RCGP, and also I'm involved with the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh, where I'll be taking this conversation on differential attainment on September 12th, and also through the BMA. So I continue to push the envelope about this nationally because I still feel it's a great tragedy that good doctors who have been trained, whose careers have been forged in fire, because that is how you are trained, in other parts of the world. It's a very authoritarian way of somebody teaching you, and your clinical subject matter is excellent, but you are being marginalized because of communication skills, which is very unfortunate. At the end of the day, are you able to pick up a colorectal cancer? Can you diagnose an underactive thyroid? Have you picked up the prostate cancer or the bladder cancer? Have you done an urgent referral on the day for sepsis? Have you identified heart block and sent the patient in? That's what is important. Communication skills are important to reduce the rate of referrals to the GMC and for patient satisfaction. But the most important patient satisfaction is patient safety. If these
Mhm.
doctors are safe and they are competent, it is our responsibility to support them to cross the finishing line because they are excellent doctors. They are not inferior doctors in any shape or form just because their accent is musical or because the way they look or the color of their skin is not acceptable to you, or you don't
Mm.
look like somebody. Those are not good enough reasons to put somebody into a bracket and to categorize and marginalize them.
Sure, sure. Let me put you on the spot, considering that you are vying for the position of council member with the RCGP. Tell me, who is the council member? What do they do for anybody who might not know?
So the council is a diverse representation of GP voices across the country.
Mm-hmm.
There will be 6 members on the council. There will be um, quarterly meetings of this council where council members can introduce key papers or agenda items which are in the national interest of general practitioners. That could be about GP retention, workforce issues, the present state of the GP contract, where can the college engage with this differential attainment, discrimination in the workplace, and the part of the bigger picture as to the future of general practice. So important papers which are put forward by council members will be brought to these sessions, as well as existing bodies of work which are going on with the college. So you will be given advance notice of these papers. They will be brought to your attention. You will have to digest them and then come to these council meetings in person or hybrid depending on your circumstances, and you will be able to shape the future of general practice in some shape or form, being the representatives, the advocates for general practice. I mean, the issues can be anything. It could be sustainability, it could be innovation, it could be the future of the college, it could be quality, diversity, and inclusion. There are so many things in which the college has to be involved in. It could be quality assurance matters. All of these will be brought to the council's attention, and obviously there is an executive group as well, and they will
Mm-hmm.
also be involved in that, and people will get to vote on key issues. They will get a chance to make a stand whether they agree with it or not, and they can bring their point of view. So I guess it is a place to be a voice for general practice and for your colleagues.
And what I hear you say is that you've come to serve, and you're asking for the opportunity for us to allow you to serve us.
Absolutely. I mean, what is the purpose of a man in this life, is to spread kindness and to be of service to his fellow man.
Mm.
Muhammad Ali, the, the greatest of all time, said, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. So that's what we're here for. If the greatest of all time has said that, I think surely we can follow that.
But if you could give yourself a piece of advice at the beginning of your career, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell young Tanvir?
Be fearless. Be
Ooh.
fearless, because fear is the thing which holds you back. And I have fear today as well, but I'm able to channel that more effectively. Be fearless. Don't be afraid to try something, because a lot of youngsters are afraid to try because of the fear of failure. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. And there is no such thing as true failure. Failure is first attempt in learning. So if you are willing to fail the first time, then you will succeed the second time. And maybe you will fall down 7 times and you'll get up 8 times. And that is life. It's not how many times you fall, it's how you dust yourself up and pick yourself up and get on to the next level. And I would push myself to going for all the management and leadership things I've done probably 10 years earlier. I didn't go into these things because I was led to believe I'm not good enough for it, and people told me you're not good enough. This is not your thing. You should just stick to your day job, which is seeing patients. And I've realized that actually I have a lot to offer the system, but that only happened when I took a leap of faith about 5 years ago during COVID. I said, no, something has to change. I have some skills and I am underutilizing them. So let me just try. And I went to a conference, I went to a couple of meetings, one thing led to another. The next thing I knew, I was a fellow of the college, I was a fellow of the Faculty of Medical Leadership and Management. I became the clinical director of my primary care network. Then I became the deputy medical director. And the journey has continued. I haven't looked back. And it's only because I took a leap of faith about 5 years ago. I said, I'm going to trust in my abilities. And whether I succeed or not, I'm going to put my best possible effort. I'm going to make the most of this time. So that is the advice for the younger version of myself is be fearless and attempt everything earlier. Don't leave it till you're in your 40s because you've already lost 10 years there. And those 10 years can give you such a turbo boost in your career and get you to a different platform where you can do so much more for people around you at a much earlier age.
It very much reminds me of one of my favorite quotations. I'm just going to paraphrase it, but it's by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she says that we should be the man in the arena. Not don't just be the one sitting down and cheering and say they should have done it this way or they should have done it that way. Just get down into the arena, and then at the end of the day, you know that you've put in your blood, your tears, and your sweat, and that's
Absolutely.
what you're telling your young self.
Yeah. So anybody has a potential, and it's just trying to unlock that potential. That's what's important. And I think we get pulled down by people around us. People tell us, oh, you're not good enough, you don't belong here. And then you buy into that narrative. When
Mhm.
you buy into that narrative, then you are suppressed. And you're like, it's okay, I'll just be an observer here. This is not my place. But then you open your mouth and you realize you have a lot of good things to say, you know, but you've just not had an opportunity to do so.
And talking about that, what has been your biggest failure and what have you learned from that experience?
My biggest failure, I don't consider these setbacks in life as failures actually. I just look
Mm,
at them as stepping stones because I think my biggest failure was my inability to navigate the discrimination that was meted out to me when I was in the hospital setting and in primary care. But the balance of power was in the favor of the person in front of me. So that person was a consultant, or that person was a trainer or a training program director. So you are fearful for your career and your sustainability in the patch. I wish I had more support at that time. I did speak out a little bit, but I wish I had spoken out more. But there would have been more repercussions and consequences if I had spoken out then. Today, I can say what I have to say because will happily listen to me for a few minutes. But that
mhm.
point in time, there weren't a lot of people who were willing to listen to me. Everybody told me, "Don't rock the boat. You are still in training. You don't have your ILR. You are not secure in this country. This will affect your employment opportunities. Just bite the bullet and put your head down and do the job." But when somebody asks you how terrorists justify going to the mosque when you want to go for Friday prayers, there is a
No way.
there is a real problem with that statement. And when that's your training program director asking you that question, that shows the ignorance of that individual in asking you that question. So my response was, what do you think, I'm making nail bombs in my basement? It's such a ridiculous and repulsive statement to make to a healthcare professional who is dedicating his life to helping people and to serving them. And I think this narrative is continuing in society now. It has become so convenient to label somebody as a towel head or something like that and just stick with that narrative. We have to be that voice now. We must say something. We don't have to fight and shout, but we must engage with people, we must educate them, and we must create allies in this space. And I think that will happen only through cultural safety. When we address all 9 protected groups as per the NHS Race and Equality Act, and not just race and religion, which are very limiting in its scope. But the most important characteristic in that is women. I mean, you are 50% of the workforce and have been subjected to misogyny and discrimination since the beginning of time. So you are the most important characteristic. If your male colleagues and allies cannot be there for you, then we can't call ourselves your colleagues and your allies. We have to be there. We have to stand there shoulder to shoulder with you to prevent those injustices. So that neurodiversity, learning disability, maternity, age, race, religion, marriage, civil partnerships, gender identity, there are so many, there are 9 groups, all 9 are important. And I think
Mm.
we have lost our way in that conversation. And it's time for us to reclaim that narrative and say, let's make this an inclusive conversation where everybody feels like they belong and not just a tick box conversation on EDI. EDI is such a limiting word. There are so many EDI consultants and specialists out there. I don't want to uh, what we call affect their bread and butter, and I'm sure they're doing
Mm.
a phenomenal job. But the reality is, we have to now embrace cultural safety in the workplace. That is the need of the
Mhm.
hour. So I think, yeah. So I think my failures were, my hesitancy in addressing these things. But now, I have become the voice that people wanted me to become. So I can say something now, and people will actually listen to it. So I'm grateful for that. I don't take it for granted. I know that you could always be shut down, but I'm reassured in the knowledge that people will give me 5 minutes today because they wouldn't give me 5 minutes before.
Sure. So walk us through quickly. How do we vote? If anybody has heard those things, oh wow,
You
I'd
have
like
to
to
be
vote for
you
this
have to
one.
be a member of the college, so you should get an email from RCGP at cesvotes.com. If you haven't, then email them and request the code. The balloting goes on till 12 p.m. on the 8th of September.
Mm-hmm.
And you can select your top 6 candidates. There are 15 candidates, so only 6 will go through. It's an opportunity for us to be a part of the solution, not be part of the problem. Those are the words of the great John McClane from Die Hard. Fortunately, the legendary Bruce Willis has um, frontotemporal dementia now and aphasia, and that great voice is silenced forever. But those words are a go-to for me. I always want to be a part of the solution. I'm tired of people moaning about the problem. Problem is
Mm.
there. Who cares?
Mm.
Problems have been there for last 40 years in NHS. Let's focus on the solution. Just talking about it in endless think tanks and steering groups is not going to get us anywhere closer to the solution. We need to have practical solutions. We need to have places where we say these are the 3 points where we can do something today and then act on them. Not have a 50 points strategy for the next 10 years, which somebody will forget in the next 6 months. Does that make
You sound
sense?
like a real movie buff. You sound like a movie person.
This is what happens when you're an only child. This is the vestiges of your misspent youth. I have learned more from movies than I have from the books, and I've read a lot.
Because you've
But
mentioned Rocky
yeah,
and then you've gone to Bruce Willis, and I'm thinking,
yeah,
oh, someone likes his movies.
absolutely. I'm always up for a good movie.
Mm.
And that's my safe space, where I de-stress. I immerse myself in the celluloid environment, and I forget all my worries for 2 hours. It's a phenomenal place to recharge your batteries at any time.
And particularly, I enjoy going to the cinema. And nowadays, when I have a free time, I go during the day and I tell myself that I have booked the cinema because you probably have one or two people there and it's just you alone
Yeah,
during the day, the whole cinema to you.
that's a phenomenal experience. It's just you and the cinema.
Yes. And the ambience, it's not like doing it in your house. Well, unless,
Yes,
of course, you have these massive speakers, but the ambience is just different.
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I
So I
wanted to
think,
I wanted to mention something.
please do.
This has got nothing to do with voting. This is just my personal thoughts. My greatest champion in our life was my late grandmother, Zulekha
Mm.
B. She was an uneducated woman, and she crossed 3 rivers as a young widow by boat so that my father and his sister could get English education. My father went on to become a barrister and amateur Shakespearean actor. That was a very tough act to follow. And here I am today because of the sacrifice of that woman. That magnificent lady who died of tuberculosis and penniless. She stripped everything in her body to give that to her family, and we stand here today on her sacrifices. So, a woman has a pivotal role in the journey of man, and I think I told this to you last time. It's not that behind every successful man is a woman. When a man is a child, the woman leads him and teaches him how to walk. When he grows up, she stands shoulder to shoulder with him, giving him support and companionship and love. And when he's old and frail, she stands behind him so he doesn't fall over. So, woman is all encompassing, and man is the child of woman. So, without a woman, a man is incomplete. So, that is not my pitch for votes. Those are my personal thoughts on the value of women in society, in professional spaces, and what they mean to the human race and the human condition. So I would like to share that with you. That's just my personal reflection. And like I said, that's the greatest champion we ever had in our family, my late grandmother.
Mentioning your grandmother's story and you being a book buff, have you read The Covenant of Water?
No, I haven't. I haven't read that one.
I would recommend it. So it's by Abraham Van Hughes, and Abraham Van Hughes is an international medical graduate. He's originally from India, and he tells the story, and the setting is in Kerala. So, what are your final words?
Words of my late father when I joined med school. He took me to the first day of med school and said it was an anatomy museum. That was the first session. He said, I have brought you here. You have to take me from here. I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that. So, whatever I've achieved in my life has been a homage to the legendary forefathers that came before me. They were all kind, benevolent people. They did so much good in the world, and I am only a small paragraph in that book. The book is so massive. I can never fill their shoes, but I try to do what I can. And for me, South Asian Heritage Month is 365 days a year. It's not 1 month in a year. And I believe Black History Month should also be 365 days a year,
You
not one
live it
month in.
daily.
Yeah, absolutely. So we carry these values, and this is how we were raised. We were raised to be kind to people and to reach out and do the right thing. And as long as we have those values, I think we will be a part of the conversation. And my final words are from Marcus Aurelius, my favorite statement, which you will see on LinkedIn. What we do now echoes in eternity. So we need to make this moment count because we are not promised anything. We have this moment to do something with our lives, whether that is to say a kind word to somebody, be a supportive mentor, be a friend, be a good human being first, then be a good professional, and other things will fall into place. I have the goodwill of a lot of people in my life. A lot of people support me, they believe in me, and I am very grateful for that. But I don't take it for granted, not for a second. So I'm humbled, and I'm humbled today that you have invited me today for your podcast as well. So anybody who has time to listen to me for a few minutes, thank you so much.
The pleasure has been all mine, and thank you for sparing time to share your life with us and tell us what you're doing and everything. We are really inspired. And like I always say, I do this podcast for three main reasons. First of all, to celebrate the guests that come on, because we have many unsung heroes like yourself. Secondly, to help change the dangers of a single narrative about international medical graduates not being good. And you have done a brilliant job today reiterating this fact and helping us know some of the root factors. And finally, to encourage someone out there who is feeling, I am not good enough. He's told you, go ahead, do it, and do it early.
One last conclusion. I became a fellow of the Society of Leadership Fellows at Windsor Castle. Amazing. 250 leaders across the country, multi sectors. And
Mm.
it was in the Vickers Hall of Windsor Castle where Shakespeare did his first rendition of the Merry Wives of Windsor in front of Queen Elizabeth. My late father's connection with Shakespeare resonated with me when I went there. I was so overwhelmed when I went to that place. I couldn't even enjoy the meal. I was just overwhelmed by the sense of occasion. Where have I come? And how far have I come? You know? So these things are things which I cherish. I don't take them for granted. And I urge people to tap into their inner underdog. We are all underdogs in some shape or form. Yeah, tap into your inner underdog and release it with grace and dignity, not by shouting at the rooftop, because that is how you will welcome people into your space. You will create friends, you will create allies, and mentors will come to you. I have so many mentors now who believe in me. I'm very grateful for them. I have the legendary Chand Nagpal, who nominated me for the council, Professor J.S. Bamra, Ramesh Mehta, Professor Jakhtar Singh, Stella Vig. The list is monumental. I have no idea why these people are aligned with me, but they happen to think I'm a good egg. I'm not going to question that. I'm just happy that they have 5 minutes for me. Thank you.
I think you've ended. And how can we get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
LinkedIn is my superpower. Everything is there. You will find reflective posts for me. I don't do self promotion on LinkedIn. I don't believe in that. I think the work will speak for itself, and I don't look for photo opportunities. But you will find my posts are always reflective and they have meaning and purpose. And I hope when you read them and when you see them that you find meaning and purpose in them as well. That is the ambition. Thank you.
Your recall of your induction into the fellowship. There has been a really enlightening program, but I have to let go of him. And as always, do see us next time, same time next week. And it's bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.